So I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things today, which is Instagram campaign structure for specifically Shopify brand, Shopify products. I really wanted to make a video on this because it's something that I spend a good amount of time doing, and I think it's something that people don't realize how creative you can actually get with it. Now, when it comes to structure of both there's two parts to the structure, so I'm going to cover both in this brief video. One is the actual strategy, which is, I would say, fairly endless in terms of ideas. I am going to mention two, but there are a lot of other ideas that can come about depending on how much traffic you have, what your product is, and things like that. So the first part is mapping out a little bit of your strategy. The second part to the structure is the actual campaign ad structure inside the ads that you're running so that you can get maximum results, maximum sales, and just make sure that you're testing as effectively as possible so that you know which ads are doing really well and you can scale those, and the ones that aren't doing so well, you can turn them off. And luckily, when you're working with Shopify, they have really good tracking in there, like better than if you just have your website by yourself. So you'll be in a pretty good shape to know which ads are doing well and which ones aren't, and how to read that data could be an entirely different video. But specifically for this, how to structure your campaigns in terms of specifically Instagram and product. So the first part is the strategy. And before I write anything down, there's a few things that you can do. There's two main types of traffic when it comes to your advertising, right? So there's cold and there's warm. Arguably, you could divide that warm even further into hot traffic and just your warm traffic and also your cold traffic. But I'm just going to talk about these two, cold and warm, for starters. So your cold traffic is people who have no idea about your brand. Ideally, you're actually removing them from your ad sets. You're purposefully not showing ads to people who have bought from you, added to cart, know anything about your product, so that you're consistently finding new people to send through your funnel of your products. And those people are probably not going to convert right away. Most of the money that you're going to spend on cold traffic campaigns, you will recoup, but it's going to be a lot later on in the life cycle of your customer. The warm traffic, on the other hand, you're going to spend less on ads, but you're going to see a much greater return usually if the creative is good and you're obviously have a good understanding of your buyer. You're going to spend less on ads, but it's going to return a lot more. So your ROAS, or your return on ad spend, should be quite high. I've seen it up to 14 times, 25 times return on ad spend, let's say. People might have other figures that they can throw in there. But so your cold and your warm traffic, and for this, because we're talking about structure, so I'm going to put it at the top here. You want to make sure that these two things are separate in your ad campaigns. So you are testing your warm traffic separately and your cold traffic separately. They can be under the same campaign, but inside those ad sets, you want to make sure that you are not combining that traffic. And on a side note, if you're using lookalikes off of any of the stuff that you're doing, your lookalike traffic should also be done separately, because that's cold traffic. It's not warm traffic, and it also should be tested as its own ad set, because you don't want to muddle that data. Keeping this data separate is so important, so that you actually know what's working, what's not working, and you can scale up what's working. So anyway, in terms of structuring these, there's a few strategies that you can use for your warm traffic. So a couple of them that I'll mention is, one, anyone that goes to your Instagram, your brand's Instagram page, should get follow-up ads within the next day, within the day. So at the back end of your ads, when you're making your custom audiences, one of the ones you definitely want to make is Instagram profile visits one day. And running those ads on a regular basis, because a lot of product-based brands are using Instagram as their main source of getting their product out there. So if you're putting organic content out on Instagram. You're putting photos out. People are visiting your profile. Those people should go into a custom audience, and you should be sending them ads within 1 day of them visiting your Instagram profile. Okay, so that's one type of warm traffic that you want to run. Another example of warm traffic that you want to run, obviously people who have viewed content on the ads, on your products themselves, either in catalog mode. If you've got a lot of SKUs, you might not want to manually put in every single product into your retargeting ads, but you can use data feeds to pull your SKUs, and if they've looked at a certain product, it will show up in their Instagram. So that's another thing that you want to do. And then obviously your add to carts. Anyone who's added to cart should see Instagram ads with those products, as well as emailing those people. But that's another way that you want to utilize your warm traffic on Instagram. Now, in terms of structuring your cold traffic campaigns, you want to kind of do the following. So the first level is the campaign level. So that's where you're gonna say what kind of objective you want Instagram to optimize for. So there's a lot. Obviously there's traffic, engagement, conversions, things like that. So I would go, you want 2 in there, maybe 3 depending on your budget. You want a traffic campaign, a PPE campaign, which is an engagement campaign, and a conversion campaign. So all of those objectives should be running with the same ads, but you need to split test which ones are working the best. Now, inside of those campaigns, these 3 campaigns, you want them all to have the same ad sets. Now, every ad set that you run is gonna add to your budget, unless you're doing campaign spend, but you can either do campaign spend or you can do ad set spend. But you wanna make sure that you are testing all of those cold audiences inside each one of these campaigns. Now, what cold audiences do you wanna test is really up to you and your brand. And how much money you have to do that is obviously going to affect how many campaigns you can run, because you want to make sure that each one is getting enough. A good way to know how much to spend is ask yourself, how much is the product? If the product is, let's say, $30 on average, your average order value is $30, I would say you probably want to spend at least that a day, if not times 3 that a day, just because you really want to make sure that you're spending enough to get at least one sale. And then you just knowing that you're going to be spending less over time, well, you'll be spending more ads over time, but they'll cost you less because Instagram and those algorithms will know a lot more about your buyer, ideally. So you want to basically have all of your ad sets testing, and I would even say single interest testing. This will be my last point for this video. So single interest testing inside your ad sets. And what that means is instead of adding in, like, let's say you have a store and it sells baby clothes. You might want to add in every single interest that you find into a single ad set, expecting parents, all parents, kids, the parents with kids under these ages, men, women, like you're gonna put it all under one. Toys R Us, right? But what you actually wanna do is you wanna separate all of those things out. So one ad set might be parents. Test that with all the same ads. Ad set 2 might be Toys R Us, or Babies R Us. So you want to make sure that you are you're doing all the same creative with inside all of these different interests, and running them also in all of these different campaigns. And that's going to get you the best structure, the most massive scale that you could get. And on top of that, you're going to be running your warm campaigns too. So anyone that engages in these cold ads, you want to then resend them further content. So you can also run videos in these as well. Like obviously within the creative, it can be video, it can be image, it can be actual product imagery, it can be stuff that's more lifestyle. The cold stuff you want to put up that's a little bit more catchy, because people don't know about your brand yet. Inside of these ad sets, you can exclude your buyers, view content, engagers. So you can actually exclude anyone who's had any idea of your brand so that you make sure that you're going, obviously, only cold traffic. And within this cold traffic too, you want to ask yourself too, how far are we selling? Are we local? Are we selling worldwide? And all of these should be, you only want to split test so many things at once, or else, again, your data is going to get too muddy. So you just want to make sure, again, that you're running all the campaigns that you can, all the ad sets that your budget allows, with a number of ads inside, at least 5. Some people might say 10, 20 different ads in terms of the actual way they look and the copy that is in them. And then that's going to give you a good idea of what's happening. On the warm side, which again, there's so much obviously more detail that could go into it, but just for this, 1 day IG viewers, so that's 1, people who have been to your Instagram page within a day. 2, engagers, 360 or 30. If it's new, you might want to go back all the way 360 and see all the people that engage with your page. If not, I'd say 30 days, 7 days. You know, you want to, people who've engaged in a certain amount of time, and you can split test all those. Again, depends on your budget. Another idea that you can also do for your warm traffic is obviously add to carts. And this goes on and on and on. If you just launched a campaign recently, you might want people who went to a specific page. If you just made a video and you're running commercial campaigns, you might want to retarget just people who watch 10 seconds of that video. Do you know what I mean? So really look at what's available to you from a retargeting perspective. And this combination will produce massive scale for your products and for your store. Like, you know, yeah, we're talking about getting to a really good place a month, but you want to make sure that those margins stay good. And that is why the structure, making sure that you're separating this stuff out, you're not wasting money, and you're not just throwing money into your ads, because if you just throw money into the cold campaigns, this is not going to convert as well as this. So this is where you set the stage. This is where you see the return on your ad spend, and it's the relationship between the two of them that will really take your store, take your brand really far. And obviously for the warm traffic, here's another idea for warm traffic on the content side is all of your sales content. All of the sales stuff that you're doing. So let's say you have a new drop or a new launch, or you're having a sale. You can also structure and say, we're just gonna send this to warm traffic because again, that stuff's gonna convert the best. So yeah, Instagram campaign structure, I'll make a couple more things on this, but when done right, especially as we lead into what I might consider probably the busiest e-commerce Christmas we may ever have seen in the history of online retail coming up, this stuff's really gonna help. And I would say it's never too early to start running cold traffic or warm traffic stuff, just because you're collecting the data, and those kind of personal relationships are super important, especially when you get into sending these people emails. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope you have a great day.